With the first anniversary of the war in Ukraine just days away, U.S. President Joe Biden has made a surprise visit to that country. Biden shook hands with President Volodymyr Zelensky and the First Lady upon arriving at the presidential palace in Kyiv. The U.S. president promised a further $500 million worth of weaponry, including artillery, ammunition, anti-armor systems, and air defense radar, plus tougher sanctions on Russia. Biden promised Zelensky the U.S. would stand beside Ukraine for as long as it takes.
Putin thought Ukraine was weak and the West was divided. As you know, Mr. President, I said to you in the beginning, he's counting on us not sticking together. He was counting on the inability to keep NATO united. He was counting on us not to be able to bring in others on the side of Ukraine. He thought he could outlast us. I don't think he's thinking that right now.
And joining me now with more is CTV's Adrian Gabriel. He is in Ukraine. Adrian, tell us more about Biden's trip and how he managed to keep this a secret. We knew he was going to Poland, but this trip to Kyiv was unexpected.
Yeah, it was a secret, as we had known for several days, now several weeks, that he had a planned trip into Warsaw, though his office doing a pretty good job of keeping his trip into Ukraine quite secret. They hadn't answered any questions directly about this, even putting out a press briefing yesterday saying that he'd be in Washington and flying out to Poland tonight. When they put out that press briefing, unbeknownst to many, Biden had already left the United States, was on his way to Ukraine. He landed in Poland, took a night train. It's about a 10-hour train ride into Kyiv, where he showed up this morning. A massive show of support from the United States, from the president, and for the people in Ukraine.
And Joe Biden pledged new military aid to Zelensky. Tell us more about that, and if you've heard anything about reaction from the Kremlin.
Yeah, definitely. As you had mentioned, $500 million or more military aid. But not any discussion, at least publicly, about some of the longer-range missiles that Ukraine is seeking, as well as air support. Now, while Biden and President Zelensky were out walking the streets in Kyiv today, the air raid sirens went off. We heard them here. I'm currently in Lviv, and those air raid sirens, multiple media reports are saying those air raid sirens went off because a MiG fighter jet, a Russian MiG fighter jet, went up into the sky along the border up in Belarus, and that fighter jet has the power to fire a missile and hit Kyiv in about 20 minutes. So, of course, one of the big asks from Ukraine, which we didn't hear anything yet about today, is for fighter jets. That is an ongoing conversation. And as you alluded to as well, reaction from the Kremlin, we haven't heard yet. We know that China, a dignitary from China, is in Russia today. We're expecting to hear from President Putin today. One can only guess that having Biden visit Ukraine for the very first time, to walk the streets of Kyiv with President Zelensky, will not be looked at fondly by the Russian president. And many here in Ukraine, well, today here I am in Lviv, people, it's somewhat of a regular Monday. Everyone is on edge. Everyone is waiting to see what this week could have in store with the 1-year mark this coming Friday.
Adrian, thank you for that report.